Hey everyone, it's time for another live look at the astrology. My name is Katie Sweetman, and this is your astrology for the week of February 3rd through 9th, 2025. So, as always, we're gathering live every week to look at the astrology. You hear me say that the astrology is 50%. You are the other 50%. That's the thing. The astrology is energy, it's time, it's how we live time, it's the seasons of our life. And of course, we've got some, not of course, but some weeks we have bigger movements than others. And one of those movements this week is Jupiter turning direct at 11 degrees of Gemini. We also have Neptune and the North Node and Pisces coming together. That does not happen very often. In fact, the last time it did was April of 2008. And before that, it was, I believe, October of 1991. So yeah, that doesn't happen very often. We need to sort of take a deeper look at what that means and how not now, but tomorrow, Venus will be in Aries, and we're beginning to get ready for Venus retrograde, and this will be in March. So those are our top line look at this week. As always, if you're watching live, just say hello. Even if you're not watching live, let me know where you're watching from. It's just fun to see where people are in the world. I know we are an international audience. Some of you are my Tuesday club. You are in the Southern Hemisphere, or you are in the time zone. But for those that don't know who I am, my name is Katie Sweetman, and I'm an astrologer and psychic medium located here presently in the rolling hills of Central Maryland. And again, we gather live every week to look at the astrology. And I'm so sorry that I forgot Cancer last week. And you know what happens? Doesn't happen very often, but Cancer, I'm so sorry, I skipped over you. We'll flesh things out a little bit this week, but mea culpa. But yeah, I see some familiar faces in the chat. Always good to see you. And let's dive in. We're just a few days at this point past an Aquarius new moon. So we had an Aquarius moon last week. This was on the 29th of January. A new moon opens us up into a new season, a new chapter of time, and one that unfolds like clockwork, because that's the thing, astrology is time. And then we will have the full moon next week. Gosh, I think like February 11th, I think 12th. And this full moon will be in Leo. But Aquarius season begins to bring us to the end of the zodiac. And the end of the zodiac, it's not personal, it's big picture. With Aquarius, it's about social issues, social causes, it's about society, humanity, it's our place within these bigger structures and systems. And then this will bring us into Pisces season, which will conclude the astrological year. And Pisces is the end of the zodiac, which takes us beyond our world and into the emotional ethers, the spiritual ethers, and into these sort of bigger questions. Why am I here? What is the meaning and purpose of my life? I realize these are big questions that we've been asking ourselves since probably the beginning of time, or at least the beginning of civilization. And I wanted to highlight Aquarius. I wanted to highlight Pisces because this Aquarius season, we have Saturn in Pisces. So it brings the energy of Aquarius over to Pisces. Again, the last sign of the zodiac. And so on one hand, we're thinking like systems, networks, information, humanity, society. I know, big things. And then what does it mean? What's the meaning and purpose of things? How do I fulfill my life with the things that really matter? Pisces is more of a soul-searching sign. Aquarius is typically, on paper at least, very intellectual, very rational, and very analytical. But we don't quite have that type of Aquarius season this pass around, because the energy is moving over to Pisces, learning to find the balance between our mind and our hearts, our intuition, to be of the world, but also to cultivate something beyond this world. So Pisces, Saturn has been in Pisces since March of 2023. And Saturn is the major hand on the clock. Where has life been pointing since March of 2023? And even if you're saying, Katie, I'm not a Pisces, why is this relevant to me? You have all 12 signs within you, but also within your astrology. You have your sun sign, and then you have 11 other signs that are around you. And so that becomes your clock. There's your personal time, and then there's collective time. Collective time means that we are in Aquarius season right now, but Aquarius might mean something very different for your astrology. With Saturn and Pisces, the hand has been pointing collectively towards a sign that says we need to build something, learn something, construct something in a sign that is inherently immaterial. Pisces is a water sign. It is the water of connectivity, universality, again, spirituality. It is the water that takes us from one life to another. It's interesting because as of the end of last year and even into the beginning of January, the North Node was in Aries. Aries is the first sign of the zodiac, starting something, new beginnings, taking action. And then the North Node went into Pisces on January 11th. So right now, Venus is at the end of Pisces, at 29 degrees of Pisces, and then tomorrow, February 4th, it goes into Aries. Okay, well, that's a little bit more run-of-the-mill, but then on May 24th of this year, Saturn will make its first arrival in Aries. Again, there's that major hand on the clock changing at the end of May 2025. So we're seeing a lot of movement between Pisces and Aries. Aries, new beginnings. Pisces, endings. That is the natural ebb and flow of life. In fact, and this is a good segue into the fact that Jupiter is changing directions this week on February 4th at 11 degrees, 17 minutes, exactly opposite my Mars, 11 degrees, 17 minutes of Sagittarius, but 11 degrees of Gemini. Jupiter, as one of sort of the bigger in the pantheon of planets, Jupiter, like Saturn, sort of talk about these bigger strokes of our lives. When I was learning astrology, the thing that I saw over and over again was Jupiter is the planet of growth. It's like this word, this phrase that astrologers kept repeating, but not really teaching and integrating what that means. This is the way that I explain Jupiter. Imagine a life where you have no curiosity. You don't ask questions. You don't want to learn anything. You don't want to try anything. You don't want to travel. You don't want to explore. Does your life grow? No. Imagine a life where you don't question yourself, you don't look within, you don't search for meaning and purpose. Then your life has nothing fulfilling it. The role of Jupiter, yes, it is the planet of growth, but it is a growth in a way where our lives needs to become bigger. To make your life bigger, you could do that by getting a higher degree. You get a PhD, God bless. You make your life bigger by seeking and exploring answers, whether those are philosophical, educational, religious. You seek answers by going to different countries, exploring different cultures. You seek answers by looking within. Now we're moving. There's two sides to Jupiter. There's Jupiter as the ruler of Sagittarius, the external, outward discovery of wisdom and knowledge. And then Pisces is the internal discovery of wisdom and knowledge. There's that sign again, Pisces. Meaning we can't find answers in the intellect. Aquarius. Aquarius is the second to last sign of the zodiac. We have to find answers within. Why? Because Pisces is the finality of the zodiac. And the zodiac is the wheel of life. And the zodiac teaches us how to live life, put it in balance, how to take each step through each sign, to live life either this big or to live life as big as possible. So Jupiter stirs that desire within us, on one hand, to want more outside of ourselves. But then there's Jupiter as the ruler of Pisces. It stirs us to want more within, to fulfill our lives, to fill our lives with something that makes sense, that nourishes our spirit, that nourishes our souls, Pisces. So Jupiter, it's in Gemini right now, which is it's a little bit of a different sign because Gemini is what's called the first mutable sign. A little bit of astrology collection, or collection, geez, a little bit of astrology lesson today. The mutable signs Gemini, Virgo, Sagittarius, Pisces. They help us to make sense of things. If we just stopped with Gemini, it would be informational. I read it in a book. Okay, check. On to the next thing. We're all good at repeating information. Like that's first level of wisdom and knowledge, the path of discovery, is to realize that there's a multitude of ideas and information out there to explore, to discover, to curiosity of Gemini. Then that goes into Virgo, the second mutable sign. Both Gemini and Virgo are ruled by Mercury. Information needs critical thinking, analysis, organization, sorting, systems. This side where we try to make sense of things, but a little bit more on an intellectual level. Okay, then we get to Sagittarius. We make sense of things because we want to, say, okay, I know these things. I'm a wise person. I have a degree, I have a lot of fancy degrees after my name, but that's not the end. The end is Pisces. Pisces means I have integrated it. I have lived it. That's why you can get all the degrees in the world and not know a single thing because you have to find something within yourself. So here we are. We have the energy of Saturn. Saturn's in Pisces right now. We have the energy of Neptune and the North Node, also in Pisces right now, pulling towards Gemini. So it's interesting because we have the expansiveness of Pisces and sort of the depth of Pisces. But then we have this sign, Gemini, which is really about weighing our options, seeing things from different perspectives, making new choices, finding our curiosity. What does that mean? Well, Jupiter is in this long square with Saturn. So there is this push and pull that's happening at the moment. And this is where I was saying earlier, sort of these two rhythms. I think I said that, or at least the retrograde. We have these two rhythms in life. We have the expansiveness, which is represented by Jupiter, and we have the contraction, which is represented by Saturn. We have the breath pushing out. We have the breath pulling in. We have a retrograde. We have a direct. It is the natural ebb and flow of creation. So we see this pattern in different places in the zodiac and in astrology. So with Jupiter and Saturn square, with sort of like the push and pull on some of the astrology this week, we have that natural ebb and flow. There's a need with that ebb and flow to make something, to build something. It could be with Gemini, it could be a need to make I can't think of the word, to make a commitment, to not just feel like we have a million options, but to get very particular and focused, to build something, to build an idea, to set things in motion, to organize our time in a very particular and meaningful way. So there is a pivot point this week. Anytime a planet changes directions, it is a pivot point. Jupiter being one of the bigger strokes in the sky, so to speak, it is a pivot point. That pivot point pulls at the cross of wisdom and knowledge. It's the mutable cross. And so this is a week where we are not only weighing our options, but we're soul searching. What do we believe in? What do we stand for? What's true? What's of meaning? What's of purpose? And then we have the Pisces North Node. So the North Node has been, as I said earlier, it's been in Pisces since January 11th. The North Node and the South Node's in Virgo right now. The nodes will spend always 18 months in two opposing zodiac signs. So from July of 2023 to January 11th of 2025, the North Node was in Aries and Libra. Now things have moved, and so we are trying to find the balance between heaven and earth. Pisces heaven, air quotes, Virgo earth, air quotes. Two signs that want to help, want to heal, want to, again, make meaning and purpose, certainly from the Pisces perspective. Critical analysis of Virgo versus the intuition and the feeling of Pisces. With the North Node in Pisces, we're being pulled collectively towards that sign. How do we, again, find meaning and purpose? The last time we had the North Node in Pisces, would have been 2006 and 2007, a very long time ago. So it's not to say that that time in our life is to be duplicated. Nothing can truly ever be duplicated. You're not the same person that you were back in 2006, 2007. I'm not the same person I was back in 2006 and 2007. But it is to take the wisdom, perhaps, of that time and the experiences that you've had over the last 18 years and to build something. You know, Saturn is also in Pisces, to build something with it, even if it's something inside, to say, this is what I want, this is not what I want. These are the type of connections and the depth and the receptivity I want in my life. So we need to set those internal and emotional borders and boundaries as well. So with the North Node meeting up with Neptune, Neptune is an evolutionary planet. It's different than Jupiter and Saturn. Jupiter and Saturn are very much of this world that we live in, even though Jupiter takes us beyond this world. And Neptune, because it's part of a class of evolutionary planets that were discovered in modern times, air quotes modern times, because Neptune was discovered in the 1840s, not quite so modern, but these planets were not known to the ancients. They talk about an evolutionary process for your soul, for your spirit, whatever you believe in. And so this Neptune energy, ever since the North Node went into Pisces on January 11th, has been there with us, even if it hasn't been obvious, because Neptune isn't obvious. It shows up in our dreams and our feelings, our sensibilities, our intuition. Maybe your dreams have been more vivid. Maybe you've had some pretty deep insights. Maybe there's been a lot of emotion. We all feel this energy differently, but because of course we are different people. It's my feeling, just in general, especially when there's a lot of water energy, and maybe this is my Saturn in Virgo and my North Node in Virgo talking, it's like to give it time, to give it ritual, to set time, in the sense, like I actually spoke about this in my newsletter this week. I've been spending the past couple of weeks finding time in the morning to meditate. And I used to do that really religiously, for lack of a better word, during the pandemic years, 2020, 2021, of course, before that. But that was my way of creating time and space for something that I felt was really necessary and important. So that's what I mean by give it time. And Virgo loves rituals. It loves to set time. It loves devotion. It loves, following through. And maybe that's how we navigate this Neptune energy. So otherwise, Neptune can pull us away, kind of pull us into our abyss. It's part of the Neptune archetype, but Neptune can also wash away things. It can sublimate, it can elevate, it can open up our eyes, but we need to make sure that we are 100% grounded right now with this energy. So yeah, how are you feeling the energy this week with the Pisces, with the Neptune, with the Aquarius, with the Pluto? There's a lot of things happening, but at the same time, not a lot of things happening. On paper, it looks like a quiet week, but I just think that this is a week that are pulling at these sort of bigger parts of the sky. Venus does go into Aries this week. I mentioned this a few moments ago. Venus will spend the better part of 5 months in Aries, apart from a revisit of Pisces, where it is at this exact moment. We will have a retrograde starting on March 1st. I think I said this earlier. And from March 1st until April 12th, Venus goes from 10 degrees of Aries all the way back to 24 degrees of Pisces, which I think 24 degrees of Pisces is something else that's happening. So it's like an interesting part with my South Node. It's an interesting part of the sky. At the moment, Saturn's going to be there soon too. That's another conversation for another time. But with Venus and Aries, we need to understand, kind of like with Mars retrograde presently in Cancer, a retrograde is a work. Certainly what's called a personal planet, Mercury, Venus, Mars retrograde is some sort of work. It's a personal work. It's a collective work. Mars retrograde in general has been a rework of our Mars. How do we take action? How do we show up? How do we connect with our desires? Do we follow through or do we run away? Are we courageous? Are we brave? are we not? In fact, Mars today is square Chiron. That's sort of a bigger conversation, but Mars has sort of been in this mix with Chiron, I think even since November and October. And what we're feeling has a deeper roots, deeper subtext. And Chiron is this pain point that we all have, at least personally, that connects to a collective pain point. But that pain point, we work at it like we work at undoing a knot. So there are sort of these deeper pain points that are coming up. And I was thinking about that today because I was like, I think I said this even a couple of weeks ago when we had some big, I think Chiron turned direct. I was like relitigating things in my head. I'm like, why am I relitigating things? Oh, right, Mars square Chiron. I need to pick at the scab, that emotional scab. So if you're doing that today, like, don't do that. Of course, do what you want to do, but just know that we might be picking at those little emotional and spiritual scabs, today, a couple days from now. But going back to Venus and Aries, Venus, it's retrograde again with those, sort of ebb and flow, the inhalation, the exhalation of the sky, of the cosmos. Venus and Aries, it goes into a sign that traditionally it's not at home in. So what's called in its detriment. It's not, don't worry, that's not a bad thing. It just means that Venus, which is a planet that normally is about negotiation and compromise, is not in a sign that's about negotiation and compromise. It's about action. It's about self-reliance and taking the lead. So this is a Venus that's a little spicy, but I think with the retrograde, this is a Venus where we need to reevaluate this idea of where we overly compromise, where we give things away, or where we don't compromise, sort of themes that we were seeing with the recent eclipses. Also, interestingly, to see if there's any ripples back to that October 2nd solar eclipse that we had at 10 degrees of Libra, because Venus goes into a cardinal sign and it gives that eclipse energy, even though it was back in October. So things from October might be coming up this week and into next week. But Venus, and again, it just has to work a little bit differently when it's in Aries. Like I have Venus in Scorpio, so it's also in its detriment. So it is a Venus where we need to find that passion, to find that fire, to find that motivation, to really, again, know what we want, to go after what we want, to really reevaluate things, because Venus is also a money and resource planet. And it's... also because Mars is retrograde, these are two things that are, in a way, connected. So the cardinal signs talk about the four directions of our life. If Aries is the ability to take action, to move forward, to start something new. Cancer is about home and family, which is where we find Mars at the moment. It's about emotional stability, security, connection. And again, it's just picking at those themes, especially within relationships. So from a classical astrology side of things, Venus retrograde in March and April, sometimes old relationships can come back. But more importantly is to rework emotional patterns around relationship. So there you go. That is your look at the astrology of this week. I will promise not to forget Cancer this week. Mea culpa. Listen for your sun sign. Listen for your rising sign. It's two perspectives. So before I forget, I did do a free webinar on energetic sciences just this past Wednesday. I think it went really well. You can still watch the replay, but that is an introduction to a course that I'm teaching actually this weekend. It's a 2-day intensive. It's about energy, consciousness, energy that you can touch, energy that's subtle, again, consciousness, and also something called the weft, which is the sixth element. We will work to open up our consciousness, to change and shift our consciousness so that we can begin to perceive the energetic weaving of the universe. So the link is in the show notes. I hope you can join me. Happy to answer questions. So before I forget. Let us look at the astrology of this week, February 3rd through 9th of 2025, and we will start with Aries. Aries. Mars is your planet. It's still retrograde. So this has just been a time to rework something around home, family, roots, foundation. Now, every Aries is going to live this time differently, but it may mean that on some level, for a lot of you, family demands more connection. Family demands more time from you, or for some Aries rising, this is a time to really put down roots, to put a lot of energy in the home, and maybe there's been a move, for example. Mars retrograde typically brings up something from the past, and very likely it's bringing up something from the past, as in childhood or family or even legacies. Mars is square Chiron this week, so really sit with the emotions that are coming up, because they have deep roots. They are coming from a much deeper source, and something that really may be emerging because it's time for you to heal and to let something go. Then we have Jupiter turning direct. This will be on the 4th, 4th of February, and Jupiter is turning direct in Gemini. There might be something, information, ideas, classes, writing, speaking, communication. But keep in mind, and we've been talking about this really for the last 2 years, that Saturn is still in your 12th. You're still in this sort of larger arc of your life, about things coming to an end. Finishing out a cycle, beginning to get very clear about what you want to bring with you into parts of 2025 and 6 and beyond, and what you don't want to bring with you. The North Node is now also in Pisces. The sort of the directional arc of your life at the moment is to really refine your spirituality, your connection, your inner, the search for deeper purpose and meaning. But with that Jupiter direct, it does talk about commitments, needing to follow through, needing to show up, needing to set boundaries, and needing to get real about something. But that said, as I was saying in the introduction, for this week, give this week time. Give it, a meditation. Give it, time to get quiet, time to ask yourself some questions, because of really deep points are being asked about you, or being asked of you this week. And the thing about Pisces is that you're the only person that can find the answers. They're not in a book, they're not external, they're internal, but you have to get quiet. Taurus, Venus is your planet and is crossing from Pisces to Aries tomorrow, February 4th. So the energy of your sign has been pointing towards Pisces for the last few weeks. Pisces is something called your 11th sign. The 11th for any sign, but in your case, Pisces, it's a big picture place for your Venus to have been. It's about social issues, social causes, it's about friends, community. Where do you belong? How do you want to help? How do you want to serve? Because typically Venus, when it's in this space, it wants to serve and it wants to help. Venus going into Aries is actually kind of a big deal. Why? Because Venus will actually spend the better part of 5 months in Aries. And Aries is something called your 12th sign. Everybody lives the 12th differently. It is a space that exists in everybody's astrology. It is the last space. It is a space for us to open up to what is beyond this world. For some people, it's very easy to connect to this space. They do it through dreams, they do it through intuition, they do it through meditation, whatever it is that actually fulfills something on a deeper level and nourishes something on a deeper level. For some Tauruses, the idea of getting still and quiet, that's uncomfortable. So you'll all live this time differently, but with Venus stepping into this space in the 4th, it's in Aries until the end of February before it goes back into Pisces. It's to give this time, to give this transit, this is what it's called transit, to give it space, to cultivate that inner search, that inner wisdom, that quiet time, because Venus really wants to rest and to reflect when it's in Aries. The action won't be happening externally, it'll be happening internally. sometimes when Venus is in this space, we don't have a lot of energy. So the basic idea is that throughout February, don't push it too hard. If you need to rest, rest. If you need to go within, go within. If you need to sort of clean things out and to prepare for the next cycle, do that, because it will be a while before Venus gets to Taurus. I think it's June. So there's sort of this idea that the first half of 2025 is a wrapping up of something, and the second half of 2025 is then it's the start of something. Maybe not a capital S start of something, but certainly a different rhythm for the year. Again, things ebb and things flow. Then there's Pisces. We go back to Pisces again. We do have the North Node and Neptune conjunct. It's this week, but really it's been since January, and it will be even into I think March. So this idea that you're really, and that's the thing about Neptune, certainly the thing about Pisces, that it's very subjective. What do you believe in? What do you stand for? What do you think is true? What is the meaning and purpose of your life? What is the future that you want to create? Who are the friends and community that you want to cultivate? How do you want to participate in this world? Those questions are questions that only you can answer, but certainly Pisces and certainly Neptune asks big questions. So again, give this energy time and space so that you can listen into the subtle and into your intuition for an answer to emerge. Gemini, Mercury is your planet. Mercury is currently in Aquarius, and Aquarius is something called your fifth sign. So the energy of your sign is being pulled over. Wait, is that correct? No, Aquarius is your ninth sign. It's pulling your energy over towards a space that's about what do you believe in? What do you stand for? What do you think is true? It is to travel. It is to explore. It is to focus on your education. Mercury does sort of spend about 2-ish weeks in Aquarius, so I think next week it's going to change. So in the meantime, it's you're in a sort of phase of the year about big picture stuff. Then there's Jupiter. That's what I wanted to say. So Jupiter is turning direct in Gemini on February 4th. And so Jupiter, by and large, no pun intended, has been giving you a lot of life, a lot of a need to expand your life, a need to start something new since Jupiter arrived way back on May 25th of 2024. It is on some level for Gemini a pivot point, and sort of see where these pivots are showing up, because Jupiter generally wants you to, like, as a metaphor, set sail when it's in your first. It inspires you, it motivates you, it makes you want to teach, to share, to explore. And Jupiter, which is a relationship sign, it is a career sign. Jupiter is square Saturn. It'll be square Saturn well into June, probably even into July. So this continues to be a time where Jupiter and Saturn are really pressing on your life. What does that mean? It means that your life is in the process of taking shape and taking form. How do things take shape and take form? Things take time. Saturn says things take time. They take commitment, they take dedication, they take showing up, they take boundaries, whatever it is, Saturn says things take time. So as much as Jupiter is like, let's go, let's do, Saturn is in a way slowing things down, but in a good way, to really get you to think things through. At least that's the idea. When you look back at the 2024 and 2025 timeframe, you will see the shaping and the forming of something. And then there's the whole other conversation of what Uranus and Gemini means starting in July. That's another conversation for another time. So this may be a week that asks commitments of you, for you to follow through, for you to show up, and for you to be an authority. Then there's then there's Neptune and the North Node. So the North Node is going to be, it has been since January 11th, in your career sign for the next 18 months. You will have eclipses in your career sign. You did back in September. You will again back, this coming September. And Saturn has been in this space since 2023. You've been having Saturn ask of you, what do you want to be when you grow up? So every Gemini is different, but it's just know that more and more and more is being asked of you. But then there's Neptune, and Neptune has been in this space since 2012. And that's a long time. And Neptune will actually begin to leave this space this year, but we'll say that for another time. So Neptune, I think it impacts everybody differently because on some level, it's pulling back the veil. On some level, and typically this is what I say to clients who have Neptune part of the career money story. I don't care if you're the most powerful person in the world. I don't care if they give you $1 million to do what you do. First, it has to feed your soul. So that's the thing where Neptune comes in. And Neptune, on one hand, is that pulling into something that really connects us to something greater. But then there's the other side of Neptune. It's illusions. It's the lies that we tell ourselves. I realize, like, oh, I don't want that, Katie. But we need to sit with Neptune because it is an evolutionary planet. And there has been an arc of evolution in your career over the last, 13, 14 years. And so maybe this week you're starting to see what this has been building. Maybe that's with the Jupiter and Saturn. Maybe that's with Neptune. But don't forget to feed your soul. Cancer, see, I didn't forget you. I'm so sorry, Cancer. So Cancer, the moon is your planet and it's going between Aries and Cancer this week. So we have Aries, which is your career sign. And then when it gets to Cancer by the weekend, it's that sort of reset for your personal zodiac month. So that said, let's go towards Aquarius season. Aquarius season continues to be a time to focus on, to do the math really quickly. Oh, right, the 8th. It continues to be a time to focus on something I like to call the 8th room. What is the 8th room? The 8th room is a time where it could be a month, it could be a day, it could be an hour, it could be a couple of years where we need to do a lot of deep inner work. We need to face ourselves. Kind of like when in the introduction, I was explaining the importance of Jupiter. In a way, it pulls into the 8th, even though we probably didn't realize it. Imagine a life where you never examine yourself. Imagine a life where you never question anything. Nothing ever happens. Do you grow? Absolutely not. So Aquarius season, just on paper, is a time for you to look inward, for you to question yourself, to get into these psychological and emotional spaces. Then there is the fact that there's a lot of things going on in Pisces at the moment, and the energy of Aquarius season is pointing towards something called your 9th. And as much as Aquarius season is about that inner search, the 9th, and with Saturn there the past couple of years, it's also been about a time about trying to figure out, what do you stand for? What do you believe in? What do you think is true? It's very subjective because what we believe in is subjective. It is this time for you to, the past couple of years, to make your world bigger. You can make your world bigger by getting on a plane, going to another place. You can make your world bigger by getting a degree. You can make your world bigger by trying to expand your point of view, to get curious, to see the world, even if that world is more metaphoric. So there is this sort of push and pull that's happening this week and maybe even this month that's trying to expand you. And sometimes that means getting into uncomfortable spaces because that is where the real growth happens. And if we want to know how do we get wisdom and knowledge, it's because we do the work. That said, Neptune has been in your 9th since 2012. It's hard to say concretely what this will mean because we're all different people. But on some level, for some Cancers, this has been 13 years of really trying to find your place in the world on a deeper spiritual level, to try different spiritualities, to really seek and to search and to explore the world. And maybe that's where Saturn is. Saturn is like, you tried all these different things. At some point, it needs to become something. At some point, it needs to be a commitment. And maybe, especially with Jupiter square Saturn this week and Jupiter direct, that's where that comes in. Because with Jupiter direct on the 4th, it's pulling at the 9th and the 12th, two spaces that talk about wisdom and knowledge. But in this case, it's trying to find that wisdom and knowledge within and have, that match our world outside of ourselves. So it's a little bit of a soul-searching week, Cancer. I know that you're typically a sign that feels things, perceives things, knows things, feels things in the ebb and the flow, but it is a week for you to give this energy space. It's to meditate, to reflect, to sort of commit to doing something, even if it's something small, and to give this space energy. Because the North Node will be in your ninth for the next 18 months. We'll have eclipses in Pisces. We had eclipse in Pisces back in September. And so these themes that maybe were present with you in September, they're coming to the forefront. And Neptune continues to try to make your vision, to make your world bigger. But at the same time, with Saturn nearby, we need to get very clear about what we believe in and what we stand for and what we think is true. Leo, the sun is your planet. So the sun is presently in Aquarius, which is your relationship sign. So this is the time of year, by and large, end of January, beginning of February, where you need to focus on other people. Other people can literally mean just more socialization, more connection. Other people can mean the partnerships in your life, romantic or otherwise. And that Aquarius new moon that we had last week on the 29th really put something, especially with Pluto there, it says that you are on some level, Leo, in a new time in your life. So with the sun in Aquarius, it's pointing over to Saturn in Pisces. And Pisces for you, Leo, is a space where you've been doing a lot of inner work the past couple of years and digging into themes about trust, vulnerability, power, control, secrets, the psyche, the things that you only tell your therapist, or sometimes even you don't tell anybody, because that's what's really being dug into this week and even last week. The North Node is now in Pisces with Saturn, although they're not quite conjunct yet, and Neptune has been there since 2012. This might be a little subjective, but it's to reflect back on your life, not externally, but internally since 2012. What work have you been doing? Maybe you went to therapy. Maybe you've been doing a lot of inner search and exploration. Maybe you've been using spirituality as a way to get into increasingly deeper parts within yourself. Neptune isn't overt. It shows up in these really interstitial places. It is liminal, but it's talked about this need to make a deep psychic and inner transformation. The North Node has only just been there since January 11th, while again, Neptune has been there since February of 2012. So there's something about what's happening, especially even though Saturn isn't that close, but Jupiter is square Saturn. The energy of this conjunction points towards Jupiter square Saturn, where something wants to become real. It could be an insight, a light bulb. It could be a realization. It could be an inner discovery, an inner truth, a need to set an emotional boundary, a need to get very clear about the people, going back to relationships, the people that you want in your life and the people that you don't want in your life, because Pluto is already saying to you, Leo, the next big arc of your life, the people have to be different. They can't be the old patterns, the old structures, the old stories, because Pluto is clearing space for you. So that might be bringing up a lot of things for you, but maybe the Neptune part is saying it's just time to, whatever you're holding on to emotionally and psychically that just really is not for you anymore, it's time to let it go. Venus is a career planet for you, and it's to go back to last week, because we did have the Uranus turn direct on the 29th. So there's something that's playing out in your professional life that is really starting to become the culmination of a bigger work since 2018 and 19. I wanted to highlight that because with Venus going into Aries, it's like something wants to become real, something wants to become lived. That's the thing about Aries, it's the sign of new beginnings, and that's taking place in a space, your ninth, about what do you believe in, what do you stand for, what do you think is true, need to share your vision, to share your philosophy, to teach, and to even tell a story. Virgo. Virgo, Mercury is your planet. It's still in Aquarius. So this continues to be a week where you focus on getting things organized, cleaning things up, putting things in order. And for some Virgos to focus on health and wellness. I think Mercury goes into Pisces next week. So the personal clock will change. But with that Aquarius new moon last week on the 29th, it does get into these broader strokes about health, wellness, service, helping other people, how you show up in your day-to-day life, how do you sort of give time to your day-to-day life. And with Pluto there, and Pluto will be there for quite some time, 2 decades, starting to make some sort of bigger shift. It might not be obvious at the moment, but I was saying this even in last week's update, is to listen for it, to sense it, to sense what Pluto is trying to reveal for you as it is in your 6th and will be in your 6th again for 2 more decades. That is the energy of this time, especially with Mercury, or the new moon, is still pointing over towards relationships, and on some level the sense of service and helping people. Might talk about the relationships of your life. It might talk about relationships in general, needing to look at power dynamics, for example, and maybe even just needing to clean things up. Speaking of relationships, relationships continue to be a larger theme and focus of your life because Saturn has been there since March of 2023, and now the North Node is there. It's been there since January of 2025, so just 3 weeks ago. But with Saturn there, with the eclipses, and certainly we're going to go into eclipse season in March, start to listen to where relationships are going to become a bigger focus, even more than they are already. It will be a dynamic year for you, Virgo. That's the thing when we have eclipses in our sign. There will be an eclipse in Virgo in March 14th. It's a dynamic time, and because it will be a dynamic year for you, maybe that's where Aquarius season is saying do the work, prepare, organize, clean things out, because if things sort of get a little like things are happening, you want to make sure that you sort of clear away the clutter. For example, Neptune has been in your relationship sign, goodness, since February of 2012. And so it's to see what has been the arc around relationships and connections that is very particular to you and your soul growth and your development over the last 13 years. Jupiter does turn direct this week. Jupiter is your sign of home and family. It's also a relationship sign. So there is some sort of pivot point, and maybe even a really significant pivot point that's happening this week in those 2 areas of your life. Libra. So Venus is your planet, and Venus is actually changing signs this week, and it's going into Aries. Aries is actually a relationship sign for you. And Venus will spend the better part of 5 months in Aries. So take note of what's beginning to come to the forefront, whether it's about relationships, lowercase r relationships, meaning the relationships of your life, your socializations, your interactions, or the uppercase R relationships. Who are the people in your life? Who are the major players in your life? When Venus is in the relationship sign, it's about other people. Venus, interestingly, it is touching on eclipse points, so it might bring up eclipse energy from October of 2024, April of 2024, even October of 2023 and April of 2023, because that's when there were eclipses that were activating your relationship sign. So there might be a new story, a pivot point, a new beginning. Do take note, and we'll talk more about this in the next couple of weeks, that Venus will turn retrograde on March 1st. So when I say take note of the themes, because you may be revisiting them, because Venus retrograde is a need to go back to the past, something past relationship pattern, past relationships, and especially with Venus going back into the 6th, to look at relationship dynamics, especially power dynamics, or anything about how we show up and we accommodate, we take care, and even we serve people, because that might need to change because it's a pattern that's not supporting you, for example. That said, Pisces is a health and wellness space for you. Every Pisces, well, not Pisces, every Libra will live this time differently, but take note of the health and wellness story because Saturn will be there. It's been there since 2023. It'll be there pretty much until February 2026, so one more year. To put things in order, clean things out, make those appointments. Don't do the things that you know you're not supposed to be doing. That's, the law according to Saturn. Because we're going to have eclipses there, we'll have an eclipse there in September of 2025. With the North Node and Neptune, it sort of gets into this longer arc of the last 13 years of a personal work around your health and wellness in your body. Just listen for Neptune. Neptune's not overt. Look, like maybe something can reveal itself to you. Maybe it's a deeper intuition about your body, your health, your wellness, and how something needs to change. Scorpio, Mars is your planet, and Mars is still in Cancer. It's still retrograde until February 23rd, and Cancer for you is a sign of goodness, something called your ninth. So it's higher education, it's exploration, it's looking for wisdom and knowledge, it's sharing your faith, your truth, your meaning, it's telling a story. And so, but Mars is still in that square to Chiron. I was sort of saying this in the introduction. I was like, I was noticing, because I'm a Scorpio, I was noticing where I was picking at an old, emotional scab. Like it's sort of relitigating in my things, conflicts in my head. And I'm like, why am I doing this? Oh, right, Mars square Chiron. We don't have to relitigate. We don't have to pick at the old scabs, but it's to know that underneath that there's a deeper story. There's a deeper revelation for us, and that's where the healing happens, because Chiron can also talk about healing. Then there's Aquarius season. Aquarius is a big sign for you because it is the base and foundation for Scorpio's astrology. So we are coming off of that Aquarius new moon last week, the 29th. So this is a lunar month that is the focus on family, home, and the household. The energy of this new moon points over to something called your fifth. It talks about, identity, especially identity within the family structure. But also, like, how do you invest time in the things that light you up and give you joy and give you passion? And how do you take yourself and take your talents seriously? I wanted to highlight that, even though it was last week. Really, it's still happening because we do have the North Node in Pisces. Pisces is your fifth sign. So this will be a year, again, that's echoing these bigger, that Saturnian theme. How do you take yourself and take your talents seriously? Then there's Neptune. Neptune has a wider arc of influence. It has been in your fifth sign since February of 2012, yes. But in that time, in that 13 years, there has been some personal arc, even if it's been quiet. A personal arc that's been about identity, a personal arc that's needed to heal something from the past, to reveal something so that you can be calm, because Neptune is an evolutionary planet. So it's not to expect fireworks with that Neptune North Node conjunction this week, but it plays into these bigger themes, especially because of Saturn's there. We'll have eclipses. We'll have an eclipse in September, but also even the eclipse in March 14th, about this time in your life, about your finding your place in the world, and to be of service and to be of help. Sagittarius. So Jupiter is your planet, and it's turning direct this week. So it doesn't mean the past 3 months have been like just nothing happening, but it has been a time for you to reflect, for you to go within. Since May of 2024, Jupiter has been in your relationship sign. So it's been a time to socialize, to connect, and maybe with the reflection part of it, to be very conscientious about who you want in your life and who you don't want in your life. Saturn is turning direct square Saturn. It's pulling at the four corners of your life. It's pulling at home and family, past and memories. It's pulling at you and sort of your steps forward in life. It's pulling at relationships. Saturn continues to be in what's called your fourth. It continues to be a time where the major focus is family, whether it's literal family, whether it's family as a concept, whether it's sort of a broader sense of like where's home and who is home. This continues to be a time where Sagittarius is either moving, putting down roots, spending more time with family, needing to take care of family, starting a family, or really cultivating something internal so you feel more at home here. But everybody's different. So these are big themes that might be coming up this week. And do remember that Neptune has been in Pisces since February of 2012. I know that's 13 years. So there's been this slow emotional arc that's been happening behind the scenes about needing to transform something about family, to heal something, to release something, because ultimately Pisces and even Neptune is to forgive and have compassion, which is not always easy, especially when it's in regards to family in the past. But that's sort of that deeper evolutionary work that's been happening, because with the Aquarius new moon, it's in your sign of the third. It's education, it's teaching, it's travel, it's writing, it's communication, it's things to do, places to go. But it does get into these bigger questions about really trying to figure out what's supporting, what's nourishing, and what's holding up your life. Capricorn, Saturn is your planet, and Saturn has been pulling your energy towards Pisces since March of 2023. So I know we've been talking about this, but it's each week it's to sort of find the metric for your life. Like, how has that been expressing itself? Because even in the introduction, I talked about Pisces being the last sign of the zodiac, this sign that talks about wisdom and knowledge, but the wisdom and knowledge that has to be lived and to be found within. It's not the wisdom and knowledge in a book. So this has been a soul-searching 2 years, whether you realize it or not, Capricorn. It's been to get very clear about your choices, the thoughts that you think, how you speak, how you communicate. Because keep in mind, and sort of pivoting a little bit for a moment, Jupiter is turning direct this week, and Jupiter is turning direct in something called your sixth sign. So if we go back to, let's say, end of May into June, Jupiter has been in that space. On one level, it's about making your day-to-day life bigger, to really set some rituals, some crafts, some practices, to focus on health and wellness, to make positive changes to diet, to really show up in your day-to-day life more intentionally. With Jupiter square Saturn, there's something that's pulling at you this week. It could be about faith. It could be about truth, the things that you believe in, the things that you stand for. How do you share that? How do you communicate that? But more, I think, how do you live your faith? It doesn't have to be the faith of religion. It could be your faith that everything will work out, the faith that the world will be okay. And how does that show up in your day-to-day life? Because it's one thing to believe something. It's one thing to sort of know something inside intuitively. It's another thing to live it and to have it really support your life and your day. That said, we had an Aquarius new moon just last week. That Aquarius new moon, and it did and will continue to highlight money, income, material stability, and security. With that new moon pointing over towards you, Saturn, Pisces, it sort of brings these bigger questions, and it's different for every Capricorn. On one level, it's like what's truly important? What's of value? Am I really making the right choices? Are the choices that are right for me? Are they supporting my life? Are they nourishing my life? Are they doing the opposite? For some Capricorns, it's a need to really find the value of your voice. How do you speak? How do you communicate? But I think it's getting into these sort of bigger existential themes and really trying to make sure that something on a broader level is really in alignment in your day-to-day life. Aquarius. So happy birthday, Aquarius. Actually, it's my dad's birthday today. He's 74. So anyway, happy birthday, Aquarius. So you just had that Aquarius new moon last week. So if your birthday was the 29th of January, plus or minus, a couple of days, it says that this is a powerful new year for you. Powerful more so than ever, because now Pluto is in Aquarius. I had this sort of a broader topic. Certainly, we have been talking about this for the past year and a half, but you have a visitor in your sign. That visitor is going to be in Aquarius for quite some time. It is to continue to listen for Pluto, because Pluto is an evolutionary force of transformation. It's non-negotiable. It is to listen for it, to sense it, to how it's showing up in your life. Maybe you sense a pivot point. Maybe you sense things are moving, things are shifting. But it's the sort of thing that when you look back at this time in your life, 2023, 4, and 5, you see the beginnings and the stirrings of a new time, a new life, and a new era. This new moon pointed over to Saturn in your second sign of money and income. On some level, this continues to be literally a time about money and income, how you spend it, how you earn it, sort of these bigger philosophical questions about where you want to sort of move your assets. For some, it's about self-worth and value. What is your self-worth, Aquarius, and what is your value? Speaking of Pisces, Saturn represents you, so it's in Pisces, but also Neptune is in Pisces. And Neptune has been there since February 3rd, today, but of 2012. So that's 13 years. There's been this arc of evolution around money, matter, the material plane, material stability and security. Neptune isn't overt. We don't see Neptune typically. We feel it, we sense it. It's like suddenly we realize that there's a music playing in the background. That's Neptune. So it's to start to hopefully see, to sense what has been this greater arc around material stability and security. It doesn't mean about making money, but it's our relationship with the material plane. We have a physical body. We need to make sure we have a roof over our heads, for example. Then we also have the North Node there. You will have eclipses in this space. You had an eclipse in this space this past September. So even though the North Node and Neptune are conjunct this week on the 7th, this is really we're not going to see it. We have to sense it. Pay attention to your dreams. Listen to your inner monologue. Sort of listen to your intuition. Like what's coming up for you, because it might be talking about some sort of bigger theme in your life, and that theme could be around money, income, material stability, and security. So there's that, and then Venus does go into Aries, and Venus is a major player in your astrology. It rules your home environment, your living situation. Typically, when a planet goes into a cardinal sign, certainly Aries is the sign of new beginnings and renewal. It's to look for a shift in the narrative. And I wanted to highlight that because Uranus turned direct last week on on the 30th. And that energy has been creating changes in your household for the last 6 years. So there might be some like news or information or some sort of new direction we'll see, especially with Venus and Aries, because Venus can get a bit busy when it's in Aries. But certainly with the retrograde March, April, it's a need to reevaluate something. Pisces, last but not least. So Pisces, it's Aquarius season, which means that you've come to the end of your personal zodiac calendar. Aquarius season, typically, at least on paper, is a time to rest, to reflect, to not push forward, which is ironic because there's so much happening in Pisces right now. The Saturn has been there since March of 2023. The North Node is now in Pisces as of January 11th. Neptune has been there since 2012. That's a bigger conversation. But, it's like we have all this stuff that's happening with Pisces, which is like new beginnings and taking action and standing on your own 2 feet. But then we have things that are happening in the 12th, which is Aquarius. It's just endings, needing to rest, needing to reflect. So you may feel like on one hand things are moving forward, but at the same time things are culminating and coming to the end at the same time. Even if you feel a need to push forward, give it a rest a little bit, at least until the sun crosses into Pisces on February 18th. Then there's Jupiter. Jupiter does rule you, and Jupiter has been in a space in your astrology that talks about home and family and the household since the end of May. Jupiter represents you, so every year it goes to the next sign of the zodiac. So it takes about 12 years to cross the entirety of the zodiac. So this is the time in that great cycle, that great 12-year cycle of yours, Pisces, where it's about your household and your home environment. Some Pisces are moving. Some Pisces are putting their energy into the family and the home. Some Pisces are starting a family. If it's not literally that, it's to use this time, and certainly to use Jupiter in Gemini until June 9th, to cultivate that inner sense of home and family, inner stability, inner security, and to feel nourished. That said, Jupiter continues to be in a square to Saturn in Pisces, and so this could be a week where you need to make a decision, a commitment, to get clear about something. This could talk about your life, top line. This could talk about your living situation, your home, your family, because that's what Saturn does. And Saturn has continued and will continue, at least in 2025, to get you to take the next step up. Unfortunately or fortunately, more responsibilities, but sometimes that's what we need. We need to take on a role or responsibility, because that's what really carves our path in life. So I will say that Venus does go into Aries, and Aries is pulling the energy into money and income, material stability, and security. Venus will turn retrograde, and I wanted to mention this because Venus is in a money space, and Venus is a money planet. So just pay attention to what is happening around money, stability, material security, how you earn a living. It's a bit of a broad topic, but we all need a roof over our head, a place to live. We need a sense of stability and security. Because when Venus turns retrograde, there's something that you need to go back to. It could be from the past. It could be from something that's unfolding right now. But I think that that's where it's sort of getting into these questions about self-worth and value, or what is of worth and what is of value to you. And that's going to really play out over the next couple of months. So there you go. That is your look at the astrology of this week, February 3rd through 9th, 2025. Again, my name is Katie Sweetman. I appreciate you all. Thank you. And again, I'm so sorry, Cancer, last week I forgot you. Got you this week, but do follow me online at empoweringastrology.com. I'm on Facebook. I'm on Instagram. Sign up for my newsletter. And I love working one-on-one with people, because that's where we can do the magic. That's where we can open up to the bigger arc and picture of your life, and to start to be a support for this time that you're living in. So you can book a consultation with me. Some of you are my clients, and I hope to see some of you at the weekend intensive that I'm doing for Energetic Science Level 1. This is February 8th and 9th from 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. Eastern. It is live, it is online, it's not recorded, but it is a really powerful space that we will create together. So yeah, details are on my website, and I appreciate you all, and I will see you all next week. Bye-bye.